Well, good afternoon, everyone. I think it is time to start. I know it just turned 1 o'clock, but we hope to welcome more people too as they come in. My name is Michelle Erickson. I'm the Executive Director of Wisconsin Literacy, Inc. And we're really happy to have your participation here today. And it's been really rewarding to hear the last 6 speakers that have presented really kind of diverse and different perspectives on COVID. Wisconsin Literacy is a statewide agency that's supporting 70 community-based literacy programs. And we do this right now through strengthening literacy by providing trainings, professional development trainings. We do a lot of our health literacy work out in the community, workforce connections, and through our advocacy work at the state capitol. And also, this may be a surprise, but in Wisconsin, there are 1.5 million adults out of our about 5.8 million people in our state that need advanced skills training and literacy support. So our member programs are providing this service to adults and families in 89% of the counties across Wisconsin. So one of the focus areas of our work is strengthening digital literacy. And digital literacy skills, as you know, as we've talked about today, and you've heard from other speakers, is really a foundational skill to so many things that have to happen on a daily basis, including ways in which we're accessing health. So to share a little bit more about this, I am really pleased to introduce Jamie Cobes. She is Wisconsin Literacy's Digital Literacy Project Manager. And Jamie leads our digital literacy project trainings and initiatives. She's working with many of our local agencies to improve digital skills among both tutors and students at the local programs. And prior to joining Wisconsin Literacy, Jamie was a teacher and I think was influenced a great deal by the pandemic and the way in which communication had to happen starting in 1920. And we just feel very grateful that she found her way to Wisconsin Literacy and is leading this digital skill building among our network of agencies. So Jamie, welcome.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you everyone who returned after lunch. I'm going to share my screen for my presentation. And I just a few logistics. The slides will go out in an email afterwards to all attendees, so don't feel like you have to scramble to take any notes. And also, I'm really going to try and up our post-lunch energy by inviting you to interact in several different ways during this presentation. So I'll ask for your input in the chat. I will ask for us to do some Zoom annotating at one point, and then we'll end with a Zoom poll. So I encourage your interaction. When we think about digital literacy and digital equity, we talk a lot about the 3 A's: access, affordability, and adoption. And that access and affordability is important. But even if we solved those problems today, we might still see some reluctance to adopt or to engage with digital skills. And I am suggesting that some of that reluctance is emotional, that there are emotional barriers to digital skill building. So I'm going to invite you in the chat right now to brainstorm with me. When you observe people who are hesitant to learn or to teach digital skills, what's the story they're telling themselves? What are those emotional barriers? All right, we've got great responses so far. Thank you. So we're naming an emotion and then telling me why. We're embarrassed that they can't already do it, fear of not understanding technology, getting lost in the demands of technology because it moves so quickly, upset about not knowing how to do something, language barriers, thank you. Feel like they never would have needed to learn about computers or smartphones, etc. Frustrating when you don't know how to navigate a new software. Intimidation. Tutors who tell you that they're too old. This isn't true, of course, but it's the story they're telling themselves. Yes, thank you. All right, next I'm going to ask us to do something that might raise your emotional barriers a little bit. It might be a new skill for you, but I'm going to ask us to collectively as a group annotate or write right on this screen. If you are not familiar with Zoom annotation tools, if you find a place on your Zoom screen right now that says Jamie Cobes is sharing her screen, and then there's a drop-down menu that says View Options. You can select Annotate, and once you do that, you should get a menu that might have things like draw, stamp, eraser, a garbage can. You might also see, especially if you are on a handheld device like a smartphone, you might just see an icon that's a pencil. All right, I see some people are figuring it out. The part that I did not figure out today is how to make your annotations anonymous. So please keep that in mind as we move on to the next screen. If you're uncomfortable with your name being by your annotation, you do not have to participate in the next part. I'll give us just another moment to figure this out. Looking great, everyone. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to pause and I'm going to clear all the drawings and move to the next screen and give you some directions. So here you can see that I have a line. On the left is a green circle that says yes. On the right is a red circle that says no. I'm going to give you a series of I can statements. And I'm going to invite you to place your stamp or your mark on this continuum. For some of these I can statements, you'll be able to definitively say yes or no, but sometimes you might be in the middle. For example, if I said I can join a Zoom meeting, those of you that did it and you didn't require any help, there were no problems, you could probably say yes. But if you needed to ask a teenager or an adult in your house how to get on, or if you had some trouble finding the mute button, you might be somewhere in the middle. All right, looking great. So we'll get started. Again, I'm going to clear all your annotations, and we'll go with the first I can statement. I can create a strong password for logging into websites. We're feeling confident about that one. All right, I'm going to clear your answers and give you the next I can statement. I can download an app onto my phone or tablet. Thank you. Next one. I can scan a QR code. Okay, a little variety in our answers there. Next I can statement. I can create and share a QR code. All right, answers are a little bit spread out there. Next, I can statement. I can sort and filter data on a spreadsheet. Next one, I can edit a video, meaning trim parts, scrub the audio, etc. All right, and our last I can statement, I can retrieve social media analytics to assess if my posts were successful. Okay, I want to thank everybody for being slightly vulnerable with that activity. Maybe it was a new skill that you were learning, or maybe we're just, showing where you have some digital skills and what you have left to learn. But here's the takeaway from this activity. Digital skill building is a continuum. Sometimes when we use the expression digital literacy, it implies this false binary. So either you are literate or you are not literate. But we are always learning because technology is always evolving. Like Michelle said, I'm a classroom teacher by training. And I know that there aren't a lot of teachers on the call, but I think it's fair to say that we're all in the business of education, health education. And we're all going to have various opportunities in our lifetime to be both teachers and students of digital technology. So the goal of my presentation today is to shine a light on that mindset so that it helps lower our emotional barriers. All right, I'm going to clear your drawings. And so this mindset that I'm talking about is digital resilience. And I want to share a personal story of what it looks like to be digitally resilient before I give you the nitty-gritty definition. So when I was little, I would sneak downstairs really early in the morning and watch cartoons with my brothers. But we knew that if the cartoons were too loud, my parents would wake up and they would come downstairs and be really angry with us and we'd be in trouble. So I had to figure out how to turn the sound down on the TV quickly. Okay, I knew that pressing that volume down button wasn't going to cut it. Like, that's not fast enough. So I learned that there's this mute button, and that did the trick for me. As I got older, I got my first teaching job, and in my classroom, I had this phone or a similar phone to the one on the left with all of these buttons, and I had no idea how to use it. But I saw that mute button and I was like, oh, I think I know what that does. What happens if I press this? Same thing happened when we got smartphones and technology evolved. I knew that there was a mute button. I knew how to use it. When the pandemic hit and we had to quickly pivot to teaching over Zoom, I was able again to approach this new technology with sort of a curiosity mindset and transfer some of my skills. So there was that mute button and I knew how to use it. These days, there's also Google Meet and Microsoft Teams as video conferencing platforms, and I will admit that I'm not quite as familiar with those.
Hey, you see what I sent you about your budget?
But I am able to have this sense of empowerment because I know some of the skills and I know that mute button will transfer. So that's what it means to be digitally resilient. We're not teaching specific programs or apps. We're teaching attitudes and skills. See, people are still practicing that annotation skill. Thank you. So similarly, when we think about digital health tools, like telehealth or patient portals, we can't necessarily teach specific patient portals or tools or apps, because the people that we're working with might be using different ones. But we can approach it by teaching the skills that transfer and the attitudes that will empower our communities to use these tools. The official definition of digital resilience that I'm using today comes from Digital Us Coalition. Digital resilience is a meta skill, meaning it's a set of skills or characteristics that is going to lead to other skills. So it's having all of these characteristics in the blue box here. It means having patience and confidence to approach technology and not feel like you're going to break it. Curiosity and flexibility when that technology evolves. Adaptability and problem solving for also when it evolves or if things go wrong. And then a sense of self-efficacy, like the belief that you have what it takes to achieve your goals, and a sense of empowerment that you did it with this tool, maybe you can do it with this tool as well. My asterisk is because I want to acknowledge that the National Digital Inclusion Alliance has suggested that the term resilience, digital resilience, could be problematic. Historically, we have used the word resilient to talk about individuals from marginalized communities. And it's really when we call people resilient, we're placing the burden on the individual to overcome an adversity that's really systems-based or environmentally based. So if you work with communities who might bristle a little at being called resilient, I invite you to use some alternative expressions. So one that's been proposed is digital fluency, or one of my favorites, because I'm a sucker for alliteration, is technology tenacity. I see a lot of parallels between the idea of digital resilience and something called fixed mindset or growth mindset. This was coined by a psychologist named Carol Dweck. So fixed mindset is this belief that you're born with inherent abilities and no amount of effort is going to change that. So fixed mindset me when I was young got the message from my schooling that I was bad at math. Because in order to be good at math, I was told you have to get the right answers and you had to get them quickly. So I approached math anytime I was encountered with it, like these people on the left. I was frustrated, I was fearful, I didn't want anything to do with it. But growth mindset suggests, like this quote says, that good mathematics is not about how many answers you know. It's how you behave when you don't know. And so now, as an adult, I try to approach math with a growth mindset. Doesn't always happen, but I try. So this idea that math is a puzzle to be solved, that I'm curious, and I can solve this problem. So I was just talking about math, but I can very easily replace that with digital resilience. So digital resilience is not about how many answers you know, how many apps you know. It's how you behave when you don't know. One of the first things that we can do to cultivate digital resilience and to model it is to stop saying out loud, I'm bad at technology, or I'm not a tech person, or the technology gods hate me. Just stop saying that, because in theory, technology was created by people to help solve some sort of problem. And so we need to change the narrative and just start thinking and saying everyone is a tech person. I'm going to offer today 5 strategies for building digital resilience, both within yourself and among the people that you serve. The first strategy is what I call being the captain of the C's, the letter C. So you want to be able to model calm, curious, collaborative attitude. And this looks like, first of all, co-learning. Because technology evolves so quickly, when it comes to teaching digital skills, we need to give up this idea that there is a teacher who is an expert. We can't be the expert because it evolves so quickly. And so you get to say, I don't know all the answers. Why don't we find out together? And this can be incredibly liberating and anxiety reducing. I have to tell you right now that there's a train going by our office, so you might hear that. The other way to model this part of this strategy is to use the expression, what happens if? You're not going to break things. What happens if I click on this? Okay. Just be curious. And then lastly, plan for and provide opportunities for supported exploration. So whoever you're helping to teach or build that digital skill, let them explore a little bit with you standing by. As an example of this, I wanted to show you North Star Digital Literacy is an online program created by Literacy Minnesota. Some of our member literacy agencies are using it. It offers assessments for foundational digital skills like basic computer skills, email, internet. It also offers an assessment about accessing telehealth appointments. What I wanted to show you is that with all of their teacher-led lessons, they include an explore section to build that digital resilience. And you can see for the accessing telehealth, for this particular lesson, that they're inviting students to just explore a health portal, excuse me. And then that attitude of curiosity, especially in number 6 here. What happens? What happens when you click on the help button? Don't be afraid of it. Just be curious. A strategy that goes hand in hand with a collaborative approach is to always make sure that digital learning is hands-on. I am guilty myself of getting really impatient while I watch somebody learn a digital skill, and I really just want to like grab hold of that mouse for them, or take their device in my hands. But we know from adult learning theory that adults seek opportunities for immediate application, and that we learn by doing. The other thing to keep in mind, especially with building digital skills, is you might run into a situation where confidentiality is at risk, especially if you take a person's device into your own hands, like when they're entering passwords or things like that. So it's always a better practice to make sure that the person you're working with is practicing the skill themselves. A third strategy for building digital resilience is to teach transfer across contexts and devices. So we know from adult learning theory, again, that it's important to teach skills in context, but to be digitally resilient, we want to show and empower people to see how one skill empowers them to use another digital tool. So if we look at these icons on the screen right here, I'm going to invite you to respond to me again in the chat. This one on the left, these 3 lines. What does that mean? Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of menu. Sometimes I get hamburger menu in the chat, and I love that. Next question then, with this menu, in what context do we see this? Where do we find this icon? Websites, apps, top of a web page to be specific. Okay, next icon. What does this one mean? Send. Lots of people in agreement there. Where do we see it? email platform. Is anybody seeing it when they are typing in the chat box here on Zoom? All right, the third icon, what is this one? Mail, you've got mail. Is there another context we see this icon in besides email? Messaging. Contact info on a website, yeah. Okay, and last icon, the 3 dots. What does this mean? Expand, more info, more options, more settings. Where do we see this one? We see it on websites. Sometimes at the top of a page. Where are you seeing it on Zoom right now? Social media platforms. All right, yeah, I'm seeing the 3 dots in my Zoom menu. At the bottom right, it says more. My options don't all fit on that menu. Great, thank you for participating in that as well. So the idea here is, again, that we're not teaching specific apps or programs. We're teaching these skills that can transfer so that we can increase the agency of the people that we're helping. They feel confident about trying new technology because they recognize these icons. Sorry, just turning the annotations off. I wanted to point out that Wisconsin Health Literacy staff has created a series of digital skill guides. They're great one-pagers front and back for some gateway digital skills. One of them is looking up vaccine records on the Wisconsin Immunization Record website. And this is just a screenshot of that digital skill guide. But you can see that we are practicing this strategy as well, teaching transfer across contexts by pointing out that that asterisk, when you fill out an online form, it means that information is required. So it's not just on this immunization record site, but that is a symbol or an icon that you're going to see on lots of online forms. So we teach transfer across devices and across contexts. The fourth strategy for building digital resilience is to teach problem solving. I'll invite you to respond in the chat again. What are your problem solving strategies when it comes to technology? Asking kids, Google, YouTube. So if we know that we're going to be helping somebody build their digital skills, it's a great move to anticipate problems. Caitlin Lewis was talking in the earlier session about helping people apply for COVID tests, I believe it was, and there's a box where you have to check your ethnicity, and they were able to anticipate that problem where people might not understand what that means, and then therefore get over that problem and help people get some COVID tests. So let's do some brainstorming again. If you are helping somebody learn the digital skill of creating a password, what problems can you anticipate and then teach a problem-solving strategy for? Creating a password. Where are we going to run into problems? Yeah, what's a special character? We have to be able to teach that as well. What else? How to remember it, what to do if you forget it. Great. Next one. What problems could you anticipate for sending and receiving email? Yes, what does that CC and that BCC mean? How do you know if it's sent? Forgetting a password for email as well, using the wrong email address. Yeah, like what does it mean when it bounces back to you? What do you do then? The signature line. An email recall. Great. And one last example, if you're helping somebody set up an online health portal, what problems can you anticipate and then teach problem-solving strategies for? Yeah, good point. These skills build on each other, right? Like you need an email, and then you need a password, and then you can set up an online health portal. You need the health system to assist in setting up and approving users. You need access. There's sometimes a verification process, right? Privacy. So if we can get into the mental habit of anticipating the problems and then teaching the people that we work with some strategies for solving those problems, then we can build that digital resilience. Here are some prompts that I find useful when I'm helping people build problem-solving strategies. Just a simple question, what else could you try? Okay, so not always giving the answer, but helping people think about it critically. Do you see anything here that might help solve this problem? Okay. And that harkens back to teaching transfer across contexts. So maybe a question mark means the help button. What if you tried to blank? Do you think that strategy could help here? And then finally, I just wanted to show you another example from North Star Digital Literacy. This comes from their assessment for accessing telehealth appointments, and you can see that they're teaching problem-solving strategies here as well. So the question says, the doctor cannot hear Luis, click the button to fix the problem. So we would click on the unmute button. The last strategy for creating or cultivating digital resilience is to celebrate success, however it shows up. Big victories, but also tiny victories. And to be able to reflect often on the journey and how far you've come and how far the people that you serve have come. The main purpose for this is really to build that sense of self-efficacy and empowerment, that we have what it takes to succeed the next time we have a novel digital situation. So some prompts for this strategy and what it could sound like. I have noticed that you are now able to blank. Remember when you couldn't blank and now you can. I noticed that when you got stuck, you tried another way. That's a great digital learning strategy. Can you explain to me what you did to overcome the challenge? This last one is particularly useful if you're working with English learners because it helps them put language around their digital learning and the steps that they took. If you found these prompts helpful, I just want to point out, and it will be at the end of the slides when you're sent them, the resource that I used to get these prompts comes from the Barbara Bush Foundation for Literacy. It's this third bullet point here. It's promoting digital literacy for adult learners, a resource guide. I invite you to look at that if for these prompts and more. So to sum up, the 5 strategies for building digital resilience are: 1, model a calm, curious, collaborative attitude. 2, make sure digital learning is hands-on. 3, teach skills across contexts and devices. 4, teach problem solving. And 5, celebrate success. I'm going to show you a video right now. I think it illustrates digital resilience strategies pretty well. It might also add some needed comic relief because it's about grandparents teaching their grandchildren old technology. It happens to be a commercial for a cell service provider, so I just want to mention that we are not necessarily endorsing this provider. But as you watch it, I invite you to just reflect on the digital resilience strategies that you're seeing. I do have to stop my share and reshare so that I can optimize for video. There we go.
I don't even know how to tell time. I'm so happy to see this, I can't tell you.
Oh yeah, I would definitely consider myself a tech-savvy person.
I'm tech challenged.
I've never seen
You've
one
never
of
seen
these.
this in your life.
I'm guessing I have to plug it in.
It looks smaller than I thought it was going to be.
I had one just like this.
Oh, good. Then you can figure it out.
I can, sure.
This thing feels like rubber.
Actually, it's vinyl.
No. You have to turn it on.
I did it.
Yep. A technology genius.
I'm a genius.
No, I don't know what this is.
You don't watch old movies?
I went the wrong way.
No pressing, turning. You need your finger in the hole.
I had an alarm clock very similar to that.
I think this one might be yours. Kim.
That's mine. I mean,
I have no idea how to do this.
I don't understand. The time is still set to 1960, I think. With this thing.
I did it.
It's like a stereo player, I think, yeah.
I can't figure out how do you open this thing.
It's not the power.
Attractions.
Ah, there we go.
Good job. Good job.
Here, try this.
Rather not.
Tell you the truth.
This does everything that all those things do. Say, Siri, set an alarm.
Siri? Who's that?
Okay, and
And
then
then you
you.
find where the little phone is.
How come I don't see a little phone? I see a camera. Do you need a code to make a phone call?
What do you mean?
She doesn't like you.
Who are you? It's like you have to press so many things to try and figure out even how to dial a number, where at the rotary phone, the numbers are right there.
I'm very grateful that I never have to use any of those things.
I know the
All right, so admittedly at the beginning, they use that dreaded, I am not tech savvy or I am tech challenged. But what I like about this video is that role reversal, right? Just to prove that we all have something to learn. Also, I hope you saw that there's plenty of confident, curious, hands-on learning. Nobody was worried that they were going to break anything, and lots of celebrating. And then in the end, we saw how some of those concepts and those skills transfer to the smartphone. I want to end there. I'm going to offer a poll in just a minute to talk, so we can talk about some opportunities that you might have in your work for practicing digital resilience. But I'd like to pause and just ask if there are any questions right now. All right, I don't think I'm seeing any. If you think of any, please feel free to put them in the chat. So I'm going to launch a poll. The poll has 2 questions. They're short answer questions, and they're going to ask you to reflect on maybe opportunities that you have in your work and in your life to practice digital resilience. I will not be projecting or sharing answers to these questions afterwards. Wisconsin Health Literacy is just going to use these answers to think about how we can best support you with some professional development opportunities. So you should see the poll on your screen right now. Question 1 says, what digital skills are barriers for your clients? And what digital skills would you like to develop in order to better serve your communities? If anybody's not seeing this poll and you'd like to just respond personally to me in the chat, you should be able to do that in the chat box. It says to, and right now it probably says everyone. And there's a drop-down menu. You can select Jamie Cobes and just send your answers personally to me. This is only if you're not seeing the poll on your screen. I'm at a 39% participation rate right now. So we'll let the poll go for just a couple minutes. Again, if you can't see it and you'd like to send your answers privately to me in the chat, the questions are, what digital skills are barriers for your clients? That's the first question. And the second question is, what digital skills would you like to develop in order to better serve your communities? We are now at 46% participation. Thank you. All right, I'll keep the poll open for about 30 more seconds. I'm also going to put my email in the chat. If you have any questions or comments about digital literacy, digital resilience, please feel free to email me. And then I think I will pass it to either Erin or Stan or whoever's closing us out today.
I think that is me, Jamie. Thank you. That was really fun. I really appreciate the learning that went on during the session and the new skills. And I love seeing all the annotations that continued as people practice. So thank you very much for sharing this work with us. And I really loved hearing more about our mindset, and that's so much a big part of this work. So I would like to just thank everyone today for joining the VCO Summit. We hope that you found the information helpful and actionable. And also following the session, now you're going to receive a link to an online summit evaluation. We really encourage you to complete this short survey so that we can continue to improve the work that we're doing in our service to you. So I hope that you all have a great afternoon. And again, thank you so much for being a part of this Vaccination Community Outreach Summit. Have a great afternoon. Take care.